Welcome to the Scaling Montana Speaker Series, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Go ahead and enter your name and where you're joining from, who you're with in the chat. We'd love to see who's with us today and get some lively banter going. Before we hand it over for the main conversation, I would just like to make two quick announcements. One, Montana Festival is coming up next month, and we're going to be hosting the main stage innovators panel. So we're excited about that event next May. And also be sure to join us for Bourbon and Bruises, which is our annual fundraiser, where we'll be having a live auction, and we're going to work with Last Best Comedy to talk about some of the harder days of building a technology company, and then laugh about it together. So join us at montanafestival.org. And then next month, we also, for the speaker series, we're going to be featuring Reveal Technologies. So Garrett Smith is actively raising a round, and so the conversation will be leading change during a kind of uncertain environment right now. So with that, I am looking forward to turning it over to Philip Britton, the chairman at Scaling Montana, just to talk a little bit about our work and introduce the speakers today. So there you go, Philip.
Thank you, Jenny. And just make sure, no, I'm not muted. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, everyone, for being here. It's absolute delight, as always. And of course, thank you so much to our speakers. At Scaling Montana, our mission is to make Montana the premier destination for launching and scaling technology businesses. And we do that by encouraging, engaging, educating, and connecting the whole ecosystem, and with a strong focus on really helping out our entrepreneurs in this state. And the speaker series is an important part of that. It plays a crucial role in bringing together founders, investors, industry leaders to share their journeys, their insights, their hard-earned lessons in building high-growth businesses. Our goal is to provide candid, real-world conversations that help entrepreneurs navigate the challenges of scaling. And so with that context, which means hopefully all of you will be deeply engaged and have great questions for our speakers at the end, we could not be more happy to have these instrumental figures in Montana's entrepreneurial landscape than the gentleman joining us today. And their partnership spans years. They've been key allies in each other's success. And so we're fortunate to hear authentic, unfiltered conversation between Ben Little and Pete Roos. Ben is the new CEO of Bridger Photonics, a global leader in aerial methane detection and emissions analytics. I'm sure you're all familiar with Bridger. He's been recently brought on as a CEO to lead Bridger's strategic vision, operational excellence, and market expansion, bringing over 30 years of C-level experience scaling technology-driven companies across SaaS, agriculture, telecommunications, and data platforms. And for those of you wondering, yes, Ben was previously the CEO of enterprise intelligence firm Bloomfire, and he asked me to join the board there last fall, which I did. And now, for my sins, I have stepped into his old shoes and am now the CEO of Bloomfire. He's joined today by the founder and chief innovation officer of Bridger Photonics, Dr. Pete Roos. Dr. Roos couples a passion with making emissions reduction simple for the oil and natural gas community. Sorry. A little tongue-tied, and has a background in laser physics and LiDAR. Dr. Roos founded Bridger in 2006 alongside two graduate school colleagues, and for 18 years, he personally led Bridger's growth and continued innovation as the CEO. Under his leadership, Bridger Photonics partnered with energy producers and operators to drive large-scale emissions reductions across the globe. Just a fantastic mission and outcome. Pete has recently handed over the reins to Ben, and that will be the focus of the conversation today. And we can't wait to dive in and hear about their respective journeys and their journey together and what the road ahead looks like. So without further ado, please let's dive in this conversation between Ben and Pete, and join me in welcoming these two gentlemen.
Thank you, Peter, or Philip. I'm sorry. Well, thank you, Peter, as well. But thanks, Philip. So great to see you again. And Jenny, thank you for reaching out to us. And really, a huge thanks to Scaling Montana. It's a fantastic organization. I'm just thrilled to be involved, and they're doing wonderful work. Montana will become the premier startup ecosystem. We have such great things happening in the state, as evidenced by Pete and what Pete has done at Bridger Photonics. And so I would like to start, I think it would actually be really helpful for the entire group to hear the origin story of Bridger, and then also, let's talk about some of the great lessons learned. But Pete, if you wouldn't mind, just give us the thumbnail version of the 18-year journey that gets us here today.
Yeah. We'll do the less than 3 or 4 minute version. But yeah, we started the company, 3 grad school colleagues, diving in. We wrote 3 proposals for government funding, so non-dilutive funding from the government, grants and contracts. Dove in, we secured our first ones, and away we went. And that was our world for quite a while, developing technology funded by the government. What was hard for us, though, is we realized after a few years of doing this that we started to rely on that as a revenue source rather than as investment. And so that wasn't fulfilling to us. We really wanted to make products and services that are valuable outside that can help the world and generate revenue, find products that are valuable to help solve problems. And so we found our first, in 2011, 2012 or so. And that was selling, we came up with this technology to measure distance at first with lasers. And so we did that, and we got our foothold in a market to sell those laser systems. And that was great. But man, it was like scratching and clawing for every dollar we could earn. And I was doing the sales, and our tech team was doing the sales, and it was just hard, right? And so, but we were starting to generate commercial revenue. And then in 2015, things was a pivot point for us. Well, we didn't know it then, but it would become a pivot point where we stepped out of our box and started detecting gas in addition to distance. And so we got a big contract from the Department of Energy to detect and image gas plumes. And that was a big opportunity for us. By 2019, we had developed that technology and we introduced it to the market. At that point, we still didn't know how it would do. We did a lot of research and outreach to clients in the industry, but when you release something, you still don't know how it's going to do. Well, for the first time in our company's history, it just took off. It was like a rocket ship. I think in 2019, our revenue doubled every quarter, and it was still small, but okay, that's great growth, right? 2020, we more than quadrupled. 2021, more than tripled. 2022, more than tripled. It was scaling at this rate that was just incredible. Never experienced that before. So we hit product market fit, as they say, right? We made something that was filling a need in the market, and we're just holding on for the ride and just trying to keep up with it. And so, okay. There's some storyline after that, and which Ben has become a part of, which we'll talk about. But a couple things that in the growth that were really important to me, and when I look back on it, was number one, at my heart, I'm a dirtbag climber, right? So back in the day when we were grad students, we knew how to live on very little. Right. And it turns out that became really important through our journey is being frugal at the start. And then when we got these government contracts, that's an important part of our journey, too, because we were forced to live on a budget. And so we were, they don't allow you to overspend. They won't pay you for it. So we basically were going around. We were profitable from day one because we were getting these government contracts. Right. And then when we finally did get that takeoff, we did take a small round of investment. That's the only round of investment we took. And we were not profitable in 2018 and 2019. So those are only 2 years, but it, in our heart, in our ethos, it bothered us. Every one of us, we couldn't stand not being profitable. So our goal was always, okay, I don't like being dependent on not knowing that we're going to have enough money. So, man, we scrambled. And by 2020, we were break even. So in 2 years, we were not profit. I don't know what our revenue was back then, 5 million or something like that. But yet still, we were profitable at that level. So it's because we were so frugal and watched our pennies so carefully that we were able to hit profitability so quickly. And from then on, we've been profitable, which is a really fun place to be, I'll tell everybody. So another thing that I look back and see how we did that is, instead of early on kind of firing away and hiring someone for legal and admin and sales, we did it ourselves. And so through our journey, I would learn that thing that needed to be done. So, at first I was doing a lot of technical work, the lasers and stuff like that. Well, then the next step, we needed accounting. So I would learn accounting. Yeah, we can learn accounting. Okay. Next was learning, the legal stuff. So I know legal documents. I can read legal documents and find the faults and understand the weaknesses and strengths in legal documents. Then I needed to learn sales. And so each step I would learn something. And when it just got more than I could possibly handle, then I would backfill, go hire somebody to do that job. But it wasn't until last year that we hired our first executive. And so it took a long time before we were willing to spend the money on an executive that had that experience and were really needed at that point, that had a lot of experience outside our company, brought it in. So, okay, longer. We already went over, but yeah, go ahead.
Hello, but so many valuable things, and a couple of things to expand on. I commend you because I've had the pleasure of seeing lots of different businesses throughout my career, and there's a fallacy that hire ahead. Hire ahead to find that one person that is going to be that monumental change that will turn the business, turn the proverbial corner. And your ethos was, through incremental improvements and good discipline, learn how to do it, understand it, and then hire for what we need as opposed to hire ahead. Not many people do that, Pete, and you've done an exceptional job. Talk more about frugality, because I think we're entering in a time period where frugality is going to be important, and we have gone through a protracted period of time where capital was pretty free. We were in the ZERP environment, and you could get excess capital. How did that shape our culture and allow us to become very, very successful?
Yeah. The good news is, moving forward, as we enter, if there's a need for us to be frugal, well, hell, that's ingrained in our DNA, right? We can do that for sure. So we know how to do that. And that's something I really value. I think it's important. You look at it, and I don't know if this is kind of where you wanted to go with that question, but you look at how many startups, they'll just, you'll have a concept and you'll just start firing away with rounds of investment. And we watched it, and it made me uncomfortable. I watched these companies, even in our space, raise massive rounds of investment. And then you'd have people that were in those companies that were the silver tongues, I call them, that they could just spin it, right? And you'd see everyone, they're popular. Everyone would try this and you'd hear their sales are growing like crazy. And okay, we're just chugging along, right? But in each of those cases, what ended up happening, they'd skyrocket. And then when people really dug into how their technology worked, that was all built on nothing. It was vapor that they were built on. And each time we got worried about something that happened like that, they came crashing down. And here we are, just steadily going. And I think, today our revenue is comparable to all our competitors combined, something like that. And so it was the steady course that did it. We focused on our technology, and we ended up getting it right. There was a good amount of luck, but a whole lot of skill too. And we ended up getting it right. That man, we nailed that piece. If you got that piece and you know how to solve the customer problem, man, there's nothing that will go away from that. So, we resisted the temptation to try and just outspend. That's what they were trying to do, right? Outspend everybody. So
yeah, super, super helpful. I think, a huge lesson learned is you all became experts at your craft, at something. You solved your customer's problem, and that allowed you to continue to have success. So switching gears a little bit. So at what point did you realize that you felt you needed to make a change? You were the founder and the CEO. You were, and still largely are, a driving force of our business. When did you reach that point to say, okay, now's the time?
Yeah, about a year ago, we scaled so rapidly. It's the beginning of 2024, and we were scaling so rapidly. I would search for the next leader. We like to build folks up. We developed largely in a bubble, and so that allowed us to build folks up within. We grow these careers within our company, and our scale was so rapid, and we were experiencing things that we hadn't experienced before. Situations just based on our growth, we needed to, for the first time, bringing in folks and expertise from outside our company, and so that happened in started last year. And so we started putting these pieces in place, and we can talk about how hard that is, right? To bring someone in who's had a whole career outside your company into a company that's largely been developed in a bubble, so, okay. But they were needed, right? We needed those pieces. So, but what I realized, by mid last year was, look, I've got these competing interests that are capable of driving extremely hard. And each of them has a slightly different view on how we should approach a certain circumstance and what it required. It required more and more of my time devoted to just running the day-to-day operations. And my whole day was consumed with handling admin and handling HR and handling things that a normal business typically handles, right? But to be honest, that's not my heart. That's not my soul. That's not what I drive. I always say I could do a lot of stuff good, but I always found people that could do it better. There's a certain core where it's hard to beat me. And so really and that's the core that I really love too. It's this intersection between the technology, not just ours, but our competitors' technology, the whole space, the client interactions, the emissions reduction community. The intersection of those two spaces is where my heart is, where I love. So it was really a job satisfaction thing. I was starting to become less and less happy at work. And I was like, well, I own this company, a good chunk of it. Why am I going to work when I don't enjoy it? So we set out mid last year to hire a CEO. That's when I knew it was just like it was really my job happiness that trying to pull all these strong personalities together and that were really capable and a lot of ability drive them forward in the same direction. And yeah, that's how kind of we came to that.
Now it's interesting because as we've talked before, I'm going to presume it was a successful search and finding it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But as fun as those stories are, it's the lesson learned when things didn't go well. And you've had some times working with recruiters and trying to find executives that didn't go well. What did you learn during that period that you felt allowed this one to be successful?
Yeah. We tried to hire a CFO, and we spent 14 months with a recruiter, and it was an internal battle just to agree we were going to pay the money for the recruiter because it costs a lot of money. And so we finally agreed, okay, we'll bite the bullet and do this because it's an important role. And oh my God, it was a crash and burn. And so they had no problem sending people to us. And these people were highly qualified on paper. They did their job right, what they're supposed to do. But man, just the cultural fit, we kept running into roadblocks again and again and again. It was frustrating. And so this time we said, we're going to do things different. We hired a different recruiter and we meshed with them better. And so number one. Number two, they flew out here and spent a week with us, just understanding what our company's like. And you got to realize that every company has such a different personality inside that company, so different from the next company. So you really got to get to know that company to see who could possibly fit in here. And then the last thing we did was we put gating questions on the recruiter for culture. And so what we found really is a high probability success for culture in our company is, why Bozeman? Why Montana? And if they say, well, I'd come there, for the right opportunity. Well, you're out. We don't even accept those, right? They're not even in the pool. They have to say something like, look, I've always loved Montana or small towns. It is my dream to come to this community and be a part of it. That's such an attractive part of this opportunity to me. It's got to be a huge plus for them. And once we did that, the recruiter, man, it narrowed it made a lot more work for them because they had to go out and figure out who's got a connection to Montana, right? Or small towns. Well, that's not a normal thing for them to do. So it was really hard, but once they did, wow. And they did, they crushed it, right? They brought us these candidates, outstanding candidates with connections to Montana. Outstanding. Our pool, unbelievable talent in our pool, and we got the cream of the crop. We just knocked it out of the park. And yeah, Ben was in our backyard. He's over in the Madison Valley. Really cool story there. Yeah.
Great. Well, I appreciate you sharing your insights. I'll allow you to turn the table and ask questions of me.
Well, on that point, it's like you mesh with our culture so well, and the transition has been so good. And by the way, we our skill sets complement each other so well. He's got such great experience building companies and industry experience in all different industries. He knows generally how to build a company from our size to many times our size. And he's kind of got it down now. He knows what steps we're going to go through. I don't, that's for sure, right? My strength is on the technology side, the community side, the connection to the industry. And so we match perfectly there. Our culture is the commonality there that ties us together. So tell us, how does one that has your experience end up getting this desire to live in Montana? Tell us your story about how you ended up in Montana, because that made it, right? That made the match.
It did. That story is oftentimes served better over a beverage of choice. But the short version is we lived and raised our family outside of Denver. That's home. That was home. We were fortunate enough to have 4 different businesses there, and we watched Denver grow from. And now I'm a couple things in life where I'm like, oh gosh, I'm older than younger. When people say it's 30 years I've been leading businesses, I'm like, wow, that's been a long time. And when I say it used to be like, and so, my story is Denver used to be different than it is. And so what was the impetus for us for moving from Denver to McAllister, where we live right now? We were looking to get back to that startup environment in terms of ethos in town. And part of the reason why I love Montana and I love scaling Montana and the work that we're doing here is Montana is a very business favorable state. It's a very tech forward state. We have fantastic universities. We have universities throughout the state that are providing great talent pools for businesses of all sizes. So everything from the startup to a middle market company like ours to large enterprises, Montana's a great resource pool. And it starts with our ethic. It's our worth ethic. It's our ethos. It's our desire to say, this is an incredible place, and we're going to work very hard to find a living here because we want to be here. And generally speaking, one of the great things about Bridger culture and the broader Montana ecosystem is people are choosing to live here. There are probably more opportunities at other places, but man, when you find people that are motivated to make where they want to be a success, it makes all the difference in the world. So the Montana broader culture drew us here. The Bridger culture is why I chose to leave an unbelievable company. Philip's company is a world-class organization, but it was that in-person local culture here that's really what drew me to this opportunity.
And you tell us a little bit more on what you do over McAllister.
Well, it's actually, I have to be very fair. It's what my wife does over in McAllister. So we have a cattle operation, and we raise Highland cattle and sell the meat, and we supply local area restaurants here in Bozeman, some over in the Madison Valley, and some up in Big Sky with meat. And I give Liz, my wife, all the credit and props in the world. She is doing a wonderful job running our ranch. It is incredibly hard work. It's tireless. It's 24/7, 365, and she does it exceedingly well. I am now relegated to the assistant regional ranch hand, and she calls only when she needs an extra set of hands.
I'll say, you're coming into our company and you've only been here officially almost not even 2 months yet, but you're already being able to sample, having a glimpse of the technologies in our space, at least. And I already know the answer to this, but did you expect a Montana company to be killing it like we are compared to we're battling against Silicon Valley companies with whatever they're doing over there? And so at first I was worried that they got something that somehow we don't have here. Well, in fact, we have something here that they don't have there.
Yeah.
What was your perspective coming in and seeing that?
Yeah, I was really blown away because I did not expect to find a company of our size and scale, and really the product, the high level, just cutting edge product that we have, literally in my backyard. Yeah. And so that was such a welcome surprise. I knew our startup culture was very vibrant. I'm now learning to appreciate our middle market companies are very vibrant. It's surprising now when I meet more companies in our state where the size and scale and breadth of what we have is surprising. It's like, wow. And so I was drawn because here again, another shout out to Philip and Bloomfire and the amazing business he has there. And I was very fortunate to be part of that team. It's a crazy, great business. And to be able to find something that is similar here in our backyard and in that in-person nature was the deciding factor.
Really cool. Okay. From the history now, let's pivot a little bit. What do you see forward facing for Bridger Photonics? What can you describe what we're looking at for our future?
Yeah, and I love that question. And it's funny because oftentimes history repeats itself. And so what do I mean by that? Well, first off, we have to continue to innovate with what we're doing. I'm very comfortable with saying we are the best at the world at what we do. But we can't stop and rest on our laurels. We have to continue to innovate. And so innovation happens multiple different ways. And as your company grows and scales and changes from size, so it was you, and then you added a few more people, and then you got a little bit bigger, and then you got a little bit bigger. And each phase that you had gone through, you continue to innovate. This middle market, and we're breaking out from the lower middle market to the upper middle market phase now. And that's really exciting for me.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely. And why is that? Because we focus on org design and structure a lot, because we have to recognize where we are now and how our business is shaping and the demands our customers are putting on us, because we've earned their trust and respect. So they're asking us to do more. And we're a people-based business. We are absolutely a technology company. We create some of the leading bleeding edge technology out there with people. And so we're a people-based business. And so we have to conscientiously develop our organizational structure and continue to revise and refine our organizational structure.